Hey, it's, this is the week where we don't know what day it is, people. So you're here at Litvak Leadership Live. Today is Wednesday. I keep wanting to say it's Friday because, as you can tell by my apparel today, I did not work professionally. I'm only here on Litvak Leadership Live working. And I'm here with my good lifelong friend, David Eichelbaum. How are you, David?
I am doing good, thank you. How you doing, Sean?
I am doing wonderfully. So David and I were having a little chat before we began, trying to figure out how long we've known each other. And I'm thinking it's right at or near or over under 45 years,
Yeah.
which is just unbelievable as a number. How do you know someone for 45 years? How did we get that old?
I don't know how I did it because you're much older than I am.
And David is a comedian too, as we're all going to find out. So before we get into the David Eichelbaum story, because there's so much to tell, I'm going to tell a David Eichelbaum story. And the David Eichelbaum story is my daughter, Elizabeth, at one point wanted to go into fashion design, and she got accepted to the Savannah College of Art and Design, SCAD. And when she was trying to convince us to go to SCAD in Savannah, Georgia, 10 hours from our house, I realized that my lifelong friend, David Eichelbaum, lived there. And I told my daughter that the only way you can go to Savannah is if David becomes your uncle, and he's Uncle Dave. Because if there is a hurricane, if there is a tropical storm, if there is anything like that and we cannot get to you, you have to be comfortable enough to go to his house. And my daughter, Dave, as you probably remember this story, said, well, Dad, how often do you talk to David? I said, not that often, but it doesn't matter. We've known each other for forever, and he would take you in. So we go to Savannah, and Elizabeth checks out the school, and we get together with David, and she meets him, and it's all cool. So then Elizabeth, probably close to a year later, goes to Savannah. In the first 2 weeks of school, there's a tropical storm. But they didn't evacuate the campus. Then, and she started school in September. In October, there was a hurricane. And, we're making the decision whether to go get her, what we're going to do. And, in our lackadaisical approach, and the whole time I'm talking to David, he's like, oh, it's going to be fine. Oh, it's going to be fine. It's going to miss us. Well, by the time they decided who knew? By the time they decided to evacuate the campus, it was too late for us to go get our daughter or to get her on a plane or anything. And I remember Elizabeth calling me and saying, Dad, they're evacuating the campus. I said, why are you calling me? And she said, because I called Uncle Dave already and he'll be here in 10 minutes. So I thought you'd want to know. So lifelong friend, we're going to have so for all the viewers, that is how lifelong of friends Dave are. He took care of my daughter for probably 2 weeks, maybe.
It was about a week.
Oh, a week. Okay. A week. And then we were able to get her on a plane and bring her home for a couple of weeks before she went back to class.
And we've had years and years and years of threats of these storms. And for whatever reason, Savannah's in a little hole on the coast, and we just never get these storms. It's never happened. And then we've had now 3 in the last 4 years, which again, it's just bizarre. It's never happened before. And in the 20 years I've been here, those are the first 3 storms that have come.
Yeah, you kept them. Oh yeah, they never come here. They never come here. And then my daughter comes to town for a year, and boom, there's storms. Yeah. Unbelievable.
I didn't think about it, but yeah, I should be blaming her.
Yeah, you should be blaming her completely. So, I've known David, as I obviously have told the story now, a long time. And David, I remember you, saying, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And then you eventually moved to Savannah to work with your father. So tell us a little bit, because I worked with my father for 1 summer, but it was challenging. But you went into business with your father in a chain of stores that he owned and managed, and he brought you on. So what was that like?
At the time I was living in Dallas and had been running a nightclub and I was trying to get out of that line of work. I was trying to change what I was doing. I ended up taking two part-time jobs in Dallas, just trying to figure out. I was a traffic reporter in the morning and evening, and I was a
Remember that.
waiter in the afternoon and bartender at night, whenever I could get something to do. And I did that for about a year, and I was like, "Ah, I'm just beating myself up with it." And my father was in Savannah with my mother here, and he had these stores, and my brother was also living in Dallas with his family, and we had been talking about trying to get my parents to move to Dallas. And my father said,
Hmm.
"Well, if you come here and help me, then we'll work it out and we'll figure it out and we'll get moved over to Dallas." So I
He
actually came
lied.
to Savannah with the idea that we were going to go back to Dallas.
Right, right.
Well, I was here about 8 months, and my father got sick with it was bladder cancer.
Okay.
And so he went into the hospital and had surgery and all that. Got healthy again, and then so we were kind of working that and just kind of working the business and going as it was. And then my mother got sick, and so we went to the hospital and got healthy again. Uh,
Right.
and then I met Katie right before I was ready to move back to Savannah or to Dallas. I met Katie, and I decided to stay in Savannah. Figure that out. And so that's now I've been here for 23 years. We've been married for 21. So
So
yeah,
there you
so
go.
now we're here. We started off, we had fashion stores. We had children's clothing stores. My father had two types of stores, which is kind of why I wasn't moving to Savannah in the first place. He had two types of stores. He had plus size women's stores and he had children's stores. And me being a young single male, there were different demographics you're looking for. Those were not the demographics I was looking for.
Exactly.
When you move to a new city, you meet people through work.
Right,
So
right.
it was kind of like, well, I don't know if that's going to work out for me, but it is worked out and it's worked out well. So
So you were meeting children and plus size women,
yeah,
and and now it's 2020, and that is encouraged and applauded.
right,
So
right.
we won't necessarily go there. So what was it like? Because I remember your dad being very similar to my father. Um, I say it lovingly, a little overbearing, abrupt, maybe brute-ish would be a good word. I saw your father and my father being very so. I mean, no nonsense. Don't get me wrong. No
Oh no,
nonsense men.
we balanced each other. We worked together. Um, he had his way of doing things, and I mean, I love learning from him. He was in the business for over 40 years, and I learned a lot from him. He did it for 50 years, just about. And yeah, I learned a lot from him. He was a great source to learn from. So grew up from my father was the one that we weren't allowed to have calculators in the house. If you couldn't do it in your head, then forget it. He was going to give you a hard time about it. So numbers,
Nice.
yeah, sure, no problem. Let's and now you go to a vendor and they're sitting there and they're like, well, okay, these come out to $6 for a piece. Like, okay, so $72 for a dozen. And they're like, uh, uh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
and
absolutely. Yeah.
things like that. And it's funny watching or how bad people have gotten with simple tasks like that. What I
Oh,
consider
I,
tasks.
I remember my first job. I was scooping ice cream at Baskin Robbins. First job, and the cash register had a function where you could put in how much money they gave you, and then it would tell you the change. The
Right.
owner would not let us do that. He's like, no, I want you to count the change back out to the people. So you need to make sure. So it was, you'd ring it up as 10.95 or whatever it was, and they hand you a 20. You're like, okay, a nickel makes 11, and boom, ba boom, ba boom. Like that. You couldn't do it. So and we've really gotten away from that. I think that generation would just hate now how you just put your
Yeah.
card with the chip into everything, and do you want a receipt? And most often our answer is no. I
Right.
don't need.
Yeah.
I'm going
Email it to me and I'll look at it someday if I need it.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you think? So two-part question, but I'm only going to tell you the first part first. What is the number one lesson that you where you gained wisdom from your father?
Well, I certainly learned patience.
Okay.
I taught him.
Elaborate.
I taught him how to use a computer.
Uh-huh.
Teaching him that sometimes the customer doesn't want what you want to sell them. You have to
Okay.
listen to the customer and see what it is they want and find the specifics out. There was a lot of things. He was great with figuring out different marketing strategies and sales and come up with a big slogan, advertise, different advertising things. And he was always really creative with that. So that was real helpful.
So what was the moment where both of you realized that the teacher had become the student and the student had become the teacher?
I don't know that he ever caught that. I don't know that he ever quite got that, but we had a lot of fun with it. I mean, it was just after a while, it was fun getting to hang out together.
Sure.
For probably the last year and a half, he would come to the store and I would say, Dad, I think I got it today. He's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, well, let's go to lunch. Sure, Dad, let's go to lunch. I'd go have lunch with them and he'd go home. Like, okay. But he felt like he was doing it.
And he worked as far as he was
concerned. And it worked. And if I needed him for something, he was there.
Right.
Anytime I needed something, if I couldn't get to somewhere, he would jump in and help out. So it was great. And I mean, because I was here, he was able to take care of my mother when she was sick.
Okay.
My mother had pancreatic cancer. If you're familiar with that, that's not usually a very good outcome.
Sure.
My mother had it and lived 17 years.
That's amazing.
Doctors haven't had anybody else like that. So, every time she'd go to the doctor with anything, it'd be like, well, why, what, they would be starting from scratch, not knowing what to do. And it would be a complete mess each time. So yeah, he was her advocate and I had to just be there running the store so he could do what he had to do.
Yeah. What kind of dog do you have?
I've got two dogs. We've got two mutts. One's a part greyhound, Italian greyhound, and whippet, and the other one is a German short-haired pointer and something mix.
Okay. So on another topic altogether, I know how.
The second question on the first one. You told me
the first question was, what did you learn? The second question was, when did the teacher and the student?
Okay, I got you. Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
So you're catching me because I was like, did I ask him both parts? So tell us about in your community, because I know what it's like here, where when churches closed down and then they reopened, what is it like with synagogues in Savannah? Have they reopened? I know that, it's, although in the Christian experience, and let me throw this out for everyone. So when Dave and I grew up together, I was a practicing Jew, and Dave has been very encouraging and nonchalant of my conversion over the years. So I compliment you for that, and it is warm in my heart. So I say that publicly. But I know in Judaism, you need to have a minyan. So how is COVID affecting getting a minyan together?
In our community, what they've been doing is they've been meeting outside of the synagogue and they just keep distance.
Okay.
So they still get 25 to 30 people show up and everyone just, spreads apart and one person gets up and takes charge.
Okay. And so your community is still meeting outside. They haven't moved back into the building.
They've tried. They had an outbreak. They stopped. The outbreak has been every time we've allowed people who are visiting to come. Every time we've had
Okay.
outsiders come in, we've had an
That's
outbreak.
an outbreak. Interesting.
So for whatever that means, for
Huh.
whatever, but so we've been keeping it where few people go in as possible.
Okay.
If they do it outside, if they feel comfortable, they'll do it in the large hall as opposed to the smaller chapel, so that
And
people
David.
can spread
Oh, there
out.
we go. Okay.
So yeah.
Cool. All right. So tell us about because you explained to me how you really have a few business models. Um, there's Savannah Scrubs Online, which I have here, and then you've got the Uniform Source, which are the actual physical stores. How do you see? Oh wait, my cousin Sarah, we got to throw this up here for a minute. Once a Jew, always a Jew. You can practice any religion you want, but you will always have your Jewish roots. Yes, yes, and I say again, yes. No doubt at all. I am probably the most Jewish Christian Jew. So, but that's another show for another day. Um, so, tell us about your business model and how it was, and how it's
How it's
shifting. Yeah.
Okay. When I first moved here to join my father, we were a children's clothing store and a plus size ladies store.
Right.
Um, Shortly thereafter, we took over a plus size men's store, and we were doing fashion and all of that. And then the schools started talking about uniforms. And one of our vendors came up to us and said, "Hey, look, you need to get out of fashion. You need to go into uniforms. This is the future." And
Mm-hmm.
my father and I looked at each other like, okay, let's try this, because we had a couple of years in a row where fashion wasn't so good. And you buy winter coats. Well, people in Savannah, if it gets to 40 degrees, they think they're freezing. People are
Right.
wearing parkas, and I mean they wrap up like it's the brutal dead of winter in Chicago.
Right.
And so the first couple of years I was here, we had regular winters where it got cool and cold enough that people would buy jackets. Then we had 3 years in a row where it didn't get below 60 degrees. And my father had bought all these coats. And so we
Yeah.
were like, what do you do with them? So we're like, okay, this isn't working out. Then you have all these fashion items. Well, when a fashion dies, it's gone. Plaid.
Mm-hmm.
If there's not a school that wants to wear that plaid, nobody wants that plaid. Doesn't
Right.
matter what you do with it. You can dress it up however you want. It could be $1. You're not going to sell it. So with fashion items, if capri pants, when men's capris pants were a thing for a year or two,
Whoa, whoa.
I'm
Men
grateful we didn't buy into it.
pants?
I'm sorry.
Men dressing like Mary Tyler Moore in capri pants?
Yes. That was a popular thing for a couple of years. The Hawaiian shirts, just
Right.
different things like that, where all of a sudden, boom, everybody just seems to be wearing it, and you get stuck a couple of times with that stuff, and you can put yourself out of business if you do it wrong. So we decided to go the safe route. Uniforms. How often do uniforms go out of style? They don't.
Right.
It's very rare.
And there's a bazillion styles that everyone just kind of makes up their own, right?
Right. And so you've got, well, it depends. On a private school, they're a lot more strict, and they have exact styles that they want. If it's a
Okay.
public school, then they want the kids to they want the kids to wear uniforms, but they want them to have that ability to have a little bit of individuality. So one kid can wear capris, and one can wear shorts, and another can wear skinny pants. Another, can wear a skirt. It's
Okay.
all good, but it's a public school. So then you've got nursing uniforms. We do all the medical scrubs. That's a big part of our business. We do restaurant and the chef wear and aprons and all that type of stuff for waiters and waitresses. Front of the house, we do all the safety wear for all the guys working outside. Department of Transportation, the longshoremen, all that high visibility
Oh,
stuff.
really?
So yeah, we do all that.
I never realized there were so many kinds of uniforms out there.
Well, and then we do embroidery.
Okay,
So,
tell us about the embroidery.
well, the embroidery is a big thing. But with that, I mean, we can do any logo. We can take a logo, create it, recreate it, and then we go from there. And that's a big part of the business because we do all the hospitals and we do all the doctors' offices, all the schools. We try not to pre-embroider too much because people tend to change their logos sometimes.
Okay.
So, but it's a constantly evolving part of the business. It's a great thing.
So have you seen a greater push to online? I'm sure you have over the years, but with the pandemic, is SavannahScrubs.com just exploding compared to the retail side?
It's not exploding, but overall, the online sales, the more stores are closed, and I mean, even my stores are at limited hours still,
Right.
even essential. You the Sorry, lost my train of thought. The it's a different. I'm sorry. Repeat the question. I got sidetracked. I heard something aside.
How has it changed since the pandemic with the online as opposed to physical stores?
It's the more time once people they say once people have used online shopping 3 times, then they're comfortable with it.
Okay.
Well, that means that they're not going to come back into the stores.
Oh yeah.
And that is becoming an issue because we've been, you have to send so many people away. You can only have so many people in this. The supply chain has been messed up because they told every company to make masks.
Right.
So every company stopped making what they made, all the basics, all the staples, and started making masks.
Right.
So then they ran out of the staples and they back ordered everything. Well,
and that's why there was toilet paper because they were making masks instead.
Right. That type of a thing where, and all of a sudden, everyone has masks. I can get masks anywhere.
Yeah.
But I can't get the basics. And so they can go online and get them because they can go look at every different brand.
Right.
I've got about 7 or 8 different brands that I carry. So I'm limited because a lot of my vendors ran out of things. And the men's scrubs it was a absolute mess. We're still trying to get caught up on orders from
That's
back
amazing.
in June. And that's terrible. And the customer doesn't understand that because it's never been like that before.
No.
But they can go online and they can get it, and it comes in 2 weeks.
So Eric Bam from The Incredible Bag and Perfect Crust Pizza Liner wants to know: are you offering free shipping or next day? His company is getting pushback on that due to Amazon Prime.
Okay. We're not offering free shipping or next day. We tried offering next day, and somebody took advantage of that with this ridiculous order of probably about, it was like 3,000 pieces, and the shipping came out to almost $1,000. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
It was something that we learned our lesson really quickly on that. We offer it with certain things, but that was one that they kind of got us on.
Eric is also very big into fashion, since he's making fun of my collar here. So here, wait, hold it. Let me.
There you go.
Because this doesn't look 80s at all. No. So we'll just go back to that because I like it better. I'm already married for 30 years. I just need to look nice according to my wife, and
that's
no one
right.
else.
No judgment here. You do you.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, so who do you admire?
I mean, there's a lot of people I admire, but you kind of caught me off guard.
Well, that's my job as the interviewer.
You got me on that one. It's kind of a.
So okay, so do you have an individual, whether it is personally or professionally that you look at them as an example as to, where you want to move your business or move yourself personally?
I mean, I take to my father's example, really, and that's who I try to kind of work along. I think about what would Marvin do? Um, that's kind of how
Right,
I.
bracelets.
I'm sorry.
WWMD.
Yeah.
What would Marvin do?
Yeah.
It might sell well in the store.
Yeah. You never know.
You never know.
Stranger things have happened.
So, okay, so when you want inspiration to do something different, you're like, I'm kind of in a rut. Where do you go for inspiration?
That's a real good question.
Is someone giving you an answer over there?
Yeah, but we're not going with her answer. She's not here.
Hi, Sean. I just keep pointing at myself.
That's yeah. She's my inspiration. Katie.
There you go. The wife is usually a very good inspiration.
That's a great answer. Great
and motivation. Okay, so how do you stay focused?
Good question, because I'll tell you, with the COVID and all that, it's tough because there's only so much you can do. It's not like I can go out and try getting new business because businesses really aren't appreciating strangers walking in and introducing themselves right now.
Okay.
They don't want that interaction. So it's not like I can really go out and get new business that way. So I'm trying to spend my time, one, keeping up with just the orders and stock and all that, but in finding ways to market and diversify. Trying to find new revenue streams.
So, hey, perfect lead into this question. Kenny Mayberry at Annie's Pizza.
Yes, we do.
Sell aprons.
Yes, we do. And we embroider aprons.
And you embroider it, Kenny. So SavannahScrubs.com. Is that the place to go to get the aprons?
I don't know that they're going to be on there, but if you can give them my information, you can contact me directly and I will be happy to help.
So I will set the two of you up, Kenny and David. I will do that after the show. I'll hook you guys up on Facebook, and you guys can begin the conversation because Kenny's engaged with a bunch of people that he has seen on here. So, so what do you think is vital for retail moving forward?
Well, I mean, first the economy's got to get back opened up and running.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be tough. It's going to change dramatically. I don't know that shopping malls are ever going to be like they used to be. I think that's going to be it's yet to be seen, honestly. What I think it's going to be a lot more mom and pops. I think you're going to see a lot less franchises, a lot less big businesses, and a lot more individuals going into business for themselves. I don't think people want to work for each other anymore. I think people want to have their own business.
I think that entrepreneurial. So how are you fighting with the national? Fighting may be the wrong word. How are you fighting off or in combat with the national uniform companies?
The companies there's not really national uniform companies.
Okay,
it's not really something that there's a company that is in across the country as far as in malls everywhere.
Okay.
That's a thing of the past. Uniforms, if anything, are one of the few businesses that's pretty much all independents. So,
okay,
it just works better that way because you got to know your area. You've got to know your local surroundings. You got to know what the need is. Not everywhere needs school uniforms. So doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense to put a school uniform company into a area that doesn't need the uniforms.
Oh, that makes total sense.
Both of my stores are within a mile of a hospital.
Okay, that's good placement.
Good placement. That's a location.
Mm-hmm.
But like I say, as far as shopping malls, I think that's that may be a thing of the past. I think they're going to have to figure out something else to do with those places.
So do you do any advertising on Facebook or YouTube or any of the social media?
I do a little bit on Facebook. I put up posts every once in a while when I remember to. The only thing I really do is I've been doing some radio advertising locally.
Okay.
And I'm finding that that's helping because I'm running a sale on that I don't have posted anywhere else, and we've been getting traffic for that. So obviously, it must be helping.
Okay, cool. So look, we've made it 30 minutes. Shockingly.
Really?
Yeah, it's that fast, man. I told you. So for everyone's knowledge, I had to ask my long-term friend David to be on the show, I don't know, 8 times before he finally agreed.
At least.
And David kept telling me, I don't know what I would talk about. And I was like, yeah, we'll get you started and then it'll go.
Your job.
It's my job, exactly. So as we're in the final minute, what
has anyone told you yet that you look a little bit like Smirkanish?
Look like who?
Smirkanish?
Who is Spakanish?
No, Smirkanish. He's not.
Oh,
he's
wait,
on
from Newsmax.
CNN. I see him on
Oh,
CNN. But yeah,
no one has told me I looked like him. Is it because of the glasses? Here, wait.
it's the bald head.
It's the bald head. Well, I prefer hearing Yul Brynner.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
But he never had a beard. So, okay. So in the final 2 minutes, tell everyone what you want them to walk away from this conversation with. What knowledge can they apply to their life from David Eichelbaum? Go.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I don't judge people. It's everyone is their own person, and you need to do your thing. Uniforms are a good thing. I find that for schools, the kids, and all that, it's so much easier for the parents. Once they originally argue about it, it turns out to be a good thing, and when they find out. But I just want everyone to have a great Thanksgiving and a great holiday, and everyone to be healthy and to get through this pandemic as fast as possible.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it, Sean.
So, that was great. And everyone else, we will be back tomorrow with another edition of Litvak Leadership Live. And hey,
you're going to do it on Thanksgiving?
Doing it on Thanksgiving at 1 p.m. Eastern. And the title of the show is Litvak, The Next Generation, Part 1. So that means I'm going to interview one of my children. Going to hear a little bit about, Litvak from the inside out. So tune in tomorrow at 1 o'clock for that. Everyone be blessed. David, hold